Yes. Okay. So my name is Erica Feldman. I'm a user experience researcher at HashiCorp, and I'm very excited to get to talk to you today. I wanted to talk about how we are developing our user experience research program and to tell you how to get involved with the emphasis on get involved. Speaking of getting involved, here's the URL that you can use to kind of sign up for our research participant pool. And I'm going to tell you about the types of activities that you can get involved with in a little bit. But there's that. So what is user research experience? It is a process that we use to discover behaviors, motivations, needs, and we collect all the data that we can in all the ways that we can. We observe, we look at how people complete tasks, we get other types of feedback, like in surveys or questionnaires, or even different social media. But the title of my talk has to do with the space oddity. And you might wonder, why is that? Well, when Elon Musk launched the most powerful rocket into space, he had it carry a Tesla Roadster that blasted David Bowie's Space Oddity. And he launched it on an elliptical orbit that has it reaching Mars in 1 billion years. This was, I think, more than just a stunt. It was a way to help his customers and his users focus on the experience promised by innovations that his company made, rather than a particular piece of technology or the rocket itself that they were shipping that day. And that idea and focus highlights a particular thing that HashiCorp is very dedicated to, which is our focus on research and not technologies. So we design our products, we start with the workflow, we look at how the workflow can be streamlined, if it needs to be streamlined, and then we work from there. And DevOps practitioners are also akin to space astronauts in that they're always working together to continuously optimize their workflow, and they're driven by innovations in cloud computing, not just manuals, but thinking on their feet and for themselves. And HashiCorp wants to sit alongside of you guys to help you innovate and optimize. And as it turns out, everyone at HashiCorp is in some way interacting with users. So product designers, engineers, product managers, they're using different outlets to touch base with users. So problem solving with them, talking to them at conferences, meeting with them one-on-one, having community meetups and site visits. So there's all these different ways that we touch base with users. This is the starry constellation, if you can envision it. We're getting all these different streams of data. And one of the things that my group works on is kind of connecting all this information. And so I want to just tell you how we're doing that. And to do that, we can't forget the space oddity component of this. We want to use David Bowie as our target user. With the idea that he is always, like DevOps practitioners, reinventing himself. And he also is not a monolithic construct. So there's many different instantiations of David Bowie. He's working in many different contexts. He's very much an evolving iconoclast. So let's put that in context. So there are all these different ways that we are doing research at HashiCorp. And we are getting information from the driver's seat, from the side passenger seat, in all these different ways. So I'm just going to walk you through them. So at Hugs, we're asking, does Bowie feel at home in space? And what can we do to make him feel more at home? And so we're saying, do users enjoy and learn from our events? How can we build community? How can we help users to support each other? And then we have an education team, and they are working on our operation manual. So does it work? Does Bowie understand how to drive this car? How can we help Bowie to use our products? And then there's user research. So that's kind of focusing on the orbit or the workflow that Bowie is driving. So will he be able to drive this car like he wants to where he's at? Do our products allow users to meet their goals? Do our interactions make sense to them? And do those interactions optimize their process? And then usability. So user research is about the orbit and the car, and then usability is a little bit more about the dashboard. So are things within the tools making sense, and all of the cues that we're giving people. Then we have marketing, which will ask, does Bowie want to get in this car? Is the interior saying space? Is this car optimized so that Bowie can find everything, like the resources he might need on our website? Importantly, we have product research that is trying to figure out how to keep Bowie in the car so that he feels home in the car. Is this car balancing all the needs of the different expressions of Bowie? So more concretely, what are the needs of our different customer segments and the types of customers, and how do we meet those all in a way that kind of balances them? And then how do we balance the need for feature requests and different types of workflows for different users? And then we also have a research team, capital R research, which is trying to figure out what the spaceship car is going to run on in 2025. So we're doing all of that just to figure out how we can complement your process. And so what the user research experience team has been doing is to try to figure out how to optimize that and bring it all together into kind of one cohesive narrative. And we have a number of different formats that we use, and we would like for you to engage with us in, that we use to gather that information. So one is usability studies. So there's actually two types of these. One is by engaging just in an online task-based scenario. We can send you a link. You could complete some tasks. It would be helpful for us to know how you did with those, or you could do them on a video conference live with us. And then we also love these customer interviews, and that's where we're talking one-on-one, predominantly in video chat, but also in person. And we're trying to understand there your workflow and needs, and we're trying to pitch different ideas that we might have and see how those resonate and how they might be improved. We also do focus groups, so you can come together with other users and talk about your workflow and needs. And we can hear you talking back and forth with each other and then really understand the deep need that way. And then we do site visits. So there's different types of site visits. Sometimes we do site visits with the purpose of like coming in to optimize your use of our products. But in a user research lens, we're coming in just to learn from you and to listen, and then to take that information back to our teams. So we recently did a series of these in the fall, where we went to 5 companies and we spent time with them. We did some one-on-one interviews first with each individual team member in the low. And then we came on site and met with the teams, their daily activities, did off different tasks. And then we took a site as a team, kind of came up with our process, and then to say, hey, this is your process. This is how we think your teams work together. And now give us feedback on that. And then once we had that, we worked through different ways that we could optimize their experience, specifically in terms of how Terraform was interfacing with other products. But as it turns out, most of our users are using many of our products. And so we were able to use that research to inform Vault and Nomad and Console as well. And so we really like this framework because we feel like it gives us a chance to see all of our products in context. Instead of getting feedback on each product in a silo, we want to be able to look across them. So we would love to come visit you, meet with you a little bit beforehand, and then run a similar type of workshop with you. And the reasons why it might be helpful for you to engage with us in terms of these different options is because you'll get to directly influence product direction. So you're doing that anyway, just by engaging with our communities. Maybe you're contributing to open source. But this is a very targeted opportunity to get heard and then have us wrap that up into a very pretty package so that it kind of gets distributed widely and lands in the right way so that everybody is in a receptive and open place to hearing the feedback. And when we're doing these things, we're asking about different design decisions more specifically. So there's this global product direction and where things will go, but there's also very specific design decisions that we need feedback on in terms of how changing something about the UI, for example, might impact your workflow. And then across all of these different ways of collecting data and feedback, you get to share your experiences very directly. And so we hope that that's attractive. But ultimately, what we want to be able to do is to understand your workflow. And so if you wanted to sign up for our user research group, we would love to have you. This is a link, will take you to a landing page and then to a questionnaire/survey, which will ask you about different things like the tools that you use, how comfortable you are with them. Sometimes we want to find people with no experience with a particular product, just so we understand what it's like at first blush to interact with it. And then other times we want to get users with a variety of different experiences, so we understand and can balance the needs of expert users with novice users. And it will also ask you about things like business size, because we found that that is related to the workflow. So if you're at a small business, then you may be working with different smaller teams and be wearing many hats. Versus if you're at a larger organization, you might have a more specialized role and be working with other teams with more specialized roles. So it's maybe a little long, the questionnaire, but it really helps us to make sure that we can talk across all the different instantiations of the Bowie user so that we can kind of understand how to optimize for everyone. And I think that that's my formal deck that I have prepared. So that's the end of that. There's a email alias that you can use also, which is user-research@hashicorp.com. That'll go right to me. And I guess I will leave it here with this and then see if we have any questions.
I don't see any questions in the Zoom. I'm just checking YouTube right now. And okay, we do have one question on the YouTube live stream. Does the workflow data bubble up to you from GitHub comments? This person sometimes comments there, but is not sure that their comments reach you and your team.
Yes, and so I think that that's a really good point. Like, I think we have yet to optimize in terms of how we kind of accrue that knowledge and roll it up in these like nicely polished packages. So it doesn't reach our team directly, but it does reach other teams. But I think that that's something we can optimize for sure.